Hello students, welcome to AIMS India online classes. This is a chemistry session. Here we are going to discuss about water. In this session, let us especially about different sources of water. Okay. Before that, let us see about interchangeability of states of water. That means conversion of states of water from one to another is called interchangeability of states of water. Water can be converted from one state to another and then brought back to the original by changing the temperature. For example, liquid water can be changed into solid state, that means into ice state, by cooling it to 0 degrees Celsius. Similarly, water can be changed into water vapor, that means gaseous form, by heating it to 100 degrees Celsius and above. What's happening here? Liquid water is converting into solid ice form by cooling it to 0 degrees or below 0 degrees Celsius. Means liquid converting into solid. What we call this change of state from liquid to solid. In the same way, water can be changed into water vapor by heating it to 100 degrees Celsius. So what is happening here? Liquid water changing into gaseous water vapor form by heating. Means state changing to gaseous from liquid. So these are called interchangeability of states, that is to water. Here, the process of converting liquid water to solid ice is called freezing. The process of converting liquid water into solid ice is called freezing. And the reverse, that means conversion of solid ice into liquid water is called melting. Conversion of liquid into solid is called freezing, and conversion of solid into liquid in the reverse way is called melting. So here the point is both freezing of water and melting of ice takes place at the same temperature. For example, if we take water, we have taken liquid water. If we cool its temperature, okay, suppose the water is at 10 degrees Celsius. Okay, if we cool the temperature of water to 0 degrees Celsius, then it converts into ice form. Okay, below 0 degrees Celsius, water will be in the solid ice state. If you increase the temperature from minus degrees to 0 degrees Celsius, after crossing this 0 degrees Celsius temperature, ice starts converting into liquid water form. So when you cool it, it is being freezed. When you start increasing temperature, it starts melting. So we say for ice and water, melting point and freezing point both one and same, that is 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, so simply we say here the melting point of ice is 0 degrees Celsius and the freezing point of water is 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, here the constant temperature at which water changes from liquid state to solid state upon cooling is called freezing point. That conversion we are calling as freezing, and at that the temperature at which it is happening means the conversion of liquid water changing into solid ice form. That particular temperature is called freezing point. In the same way, the constant temperature at which water changes from solid ice state to liquid water state upon heating or increasing temperature is called its melting point. So interestingly, these two are same for water, that is 0 degrees Celsius. So if you increase the water from 0 degrees Celsius, it converts into water form. If we cool the temperature below 0 degrees Celsius, it converts into ice form. Okay. The freezing and melting points of pure water are at 0 degrees Celsius. Okay. Small quantity of water keeps changing into vapor at all temperatures. Actually, we say when it is heated, water converts into water vapor form or gaseous form. But interestingly, water keeps on changing into vapor form at all temperatures, even without heating also. This process of conversion of a liquid into gaseous form at all temperatures is called evaporation. That is why our perspiration dries up at room temperature and wet clothes dry up even in shade. Even wet clothes will be getting dried up even in shade also. This is because of the evaporation of water present on the wet cloths. However, if we heat water, it starts boiling at 100 degrees Celsius. So, even though this evaporation is occurring at all temperatures, if you heat water to 100 degrees Celsius, then it starts boiling at 100 degrees. So, this boiling starts rapidly after coming to 100 degrees Celsius and changes into steam. Now, if we cool steam, it changes into liquid water at 100 degrees Celsius in the reverse way. So now here the constant temperature at which water changes from liquid state to gaseous water vapor form on heating and from gaseous state. So this we can say as reverse process. First if you see this, the constant temperature at which water changes from liquid state to gaseous state, that is gaseous water vapor form on heating, is called its boiling point. Boiling point means the temperature at which liquid water starts boiling or starts converting into gaseous water vapor form is called boiling point. In the reverse way for this, when gaseous water vapor or steam, if it is cooled at particular temperature, it starts converting into liquid water form. Actually, that point at which gaseous water vapor changes into liquid water is called condensation point. So for water, this boiling point and condensation point both will be one and same. That is 100 degrees Celsius. If we heat liquid water above 100 degrees Celsius, it converts into gaseous form. If you cool steam or water vapor below 100 degrees Celsius, it converts into liquid water form. That's why you say the boiling point and condensation point for water are both one and same, that is equal to 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, that's it is given here. The boiling point of pure water is 100 degrees Celsius. See here the conversions of water into different states is mentioned here. Water vapor on cooling, it converts into liquid water form. That cooling process is called condensation. The conversion of water vapor into water form is called condensation. And this water on further cooling, it converts into ice form, that is called freezing. If you heat this water again, if you heat this ice again, if you increase the temperature of ice, it starts converting into water form, liquid water form. That process is called melting. If we continue heating at particular temperature, water converts into water vapor form. That particular temperature is called boiling point, and that process is called boiling. Even without heating also water will be converting into water vapor form. That natural process is called evaporation. So these are the different interchangeabilities or conversions of states of water from one to another. Okay. Now let us see different sources of water from where we are getting this water. The largest amount of water on the earth is in oceans. Yes, as we know, large quantity of water is present in oceans on the earth. The oceans or seas, they cover more than two-thirds surface of the earth. Yes, almost 70% of the earth's surface is covered with water itself. The two in the form of oceans and seas. The seawater is salty, isn't it? Yes, as we know, the seawater is salty, and so it cannot be used as to homes and even in agriculture, even in industries also. It cannot be used because it is highly salty. The sources of natural water can be divided into two groups. Of course, these oceans and seas are the biggest sources of water, but that water is salty and it cannot be used for any uses there. Only it is used for means of transport. Mostly it cannot be used for domestic purposes at home, and even it cannot be used for agricultural works. Even in industries also it cannot be because it is salty. Now, the sources of natural water can be divided into two groups. They are surface water and underground water. Okay, these two are sources of natural water. First, let us go through the surface water. The water present on the surface of earth is called surface water. There are three sources of surface water. So what is surface water means? The water present on the earth surface is called surface water. For this, there are three main sources. What are those? One it is seawater. The main source of water on the earth is ocean water or seawater. As we told, two-thirds of earth's surface is covered with seawater itself. So we can say as it is a main source of surface water. Next one, river and lake water. Small quantity of water present even in rivers and lakes. And third one, rainwater. Rainwater is also one of the main source for natural and pure water. Okay. Now first let us see about seawater. When the rivers discharge in sea, most of suspended impurities present in it are deposited at the river mouth, resulting in the formation of delta. At the mouth of the river, generally delta will be formed because most of the impurities present in the water are being suspended in that area. So that area becomes as a delta. The dissolved mineral salts are, however, carried into the sea. That's why, because of the carrying of these salts from the rivers, seawater becoming more salty. Seawater is the most impure natural water as far as the dissolved impurities are concerned. Many salts and impurities are dissolved in the seawater and they are being discharged from rivers also into the sea. So we can say seawater is the most impure natural water. Okay, and on the average, 1 liter of seawater contains around 26 grams of dissolved salts in it. So out of these all salts, the chief amongst them is common salt, which we use as a table salt. Okay, that is a chief salt among these dissolved salts in the seawater. Okay, common salt which on the average around 24 grams per liter. So out of these 26 grams present in 1 liter of seawater, around 24 grams is this common salt itself. Remainder consists of mainly salts of calcium and magnesium, and the salts of many other metals also will be present in that. But the major constituent in the seawater as salt is common salt. This common salt we call chemically as sodium chloride. And other common names for this are table salt, rock salt. We call this all, isn't it? Yes. As a matter of fact, seawater contains traces of almost all metallic salts, even including that of gold. Yes, the salts of almost all the metals are present in the seawater. Another source of surface water is river water or lake water. A river is a long stream of water running through a definite course of land. Rainwater falling on the hills comes down as rivers. Melted snow from the mountains flows down the slopes and joins the rivers. Rivers ultimately flow into oceans. So finally, these rivers all they flow into oceans. As the water flow along the surface of the earth, it collects different kinds of impurities into it. Thus, river water contains a large amount of dissolved minerals like calcium, etc., and even suspended impurities such as clay, sand, and dissolve. Because this water in the rivers is being flown from one place to another place continuously. While moving like that, this river water dissolves many minerals and these impurities like clay and dissolve. Okay, next. And the third surface water available to us is rainwater. Rainwater is the purest form of naturally occurring free water. It is because it is formed by natural distillation of surface water or seawater by the heat of sun. Isn't it? What does it mean by here distillation? So first, water from these rivers, oceans and seas will be converting into gaseous form by the process called evaporation, isn't it? So from these all water bodies like oceans, seas, rivers and ponds, water will be continuously converting into gaseous form by the heat of sun. There, after reaching the sky, this water vapor cools down, converts into clouds and will be precipitated as rain. So this rainwater again reaches the ground. So here what is happening? Pure water converting into vapor by the evaporation process and the same water from the clouds converting into liquid rain. So here only water is coming by this process called distillation. That's why you say rainwater is a natural purest form of water. Okay. Rainwater does, however, contain some impurities. Just now we told as rainwater is the purest form of natural water. But however, while coming down, as raindrops travel through the air, they do pick up some dust particles floating in the air. At the same time, they also dissolve a little oxygen and nitrogen and a fair amount of carbon dioxide gas present in the atmospheric air. So when this carbon dioxide dissolves to form a weak acid into the water, which is commonly called carbonic acid. In this way, rainwater after reaching the ground, it may not be pure enough because in its travel, it dissolves many substances into it, some dust particles and some gases like oxygen, carbon dioxide and dissolve. Carbon dioxide fairly dissolves into water and forms a weak acid called carbonic acid. Okay. Now let us say about underground water. The water which percolates through the upper layers of the earth surface and is collected on the solid rocks underground is called underground water. So generally after raining, some water will be percolated into the layers of the earth and will be collected on the rocky layer under the earth surface. That water collected under the ground is called underground water. So the main sources of this underground water are well water and spring water. These two are the main two sources of underground water. What are those? One is well water, other one is spring water. So water obtained from these sources like a well and a spring is not always fit for drinking and even for cooking also because many impurities and germ may be present in it. Various methods are used to make it fit for drinking. If we dig deep enough, we can collect generally, we can reach this underground pool, which is commonly called well water or spring water. The level of groundwater below the surface of the earth at a given place is known as the water table of that place. See, actually, when it rains on the surface of land, slowly water will be percolated, will sink into the layers of the earth. On the rocky layer, it will be settled under the layers of the earth. So this level of groundwater below the earth's surface at a given place is called water table of that place. Okay, Vigilant, thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe our YouTube channel AIMS Today for latest updates on recorded videos.